The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 204. I'm Joseph Christina. On last show, we talked about the possible Canon full-frame mirrorless camera, Olympus' new retro micro 4/3 Pen F, Bill Gates sells Corbis, and a light leak forces Sony recall. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS. Sorry, guys, I am back for yet another week. Trevor's not here once again this week, but that's all right. The show must go on. So today I'm going to kind of look at some interesting things, anywhere from news to camera and lens deals to the Canon 1DX Mark II that we talked about earlier that I think it's right around the corner. We got pre-orders, I think, that we're going to see any day now. And also a possible Sony black and white camera that might be coming soon. And lastly, which is kind of upsetting, a company is kind of on the verge of putting you and I, photographers, and MUAs, licensed cosmetologists and makeup artists, out of business. So we're going to look at that, which, like I said, doesn't make me too happy. We're going to look at that later on. So, all right, guys, let's start out with Sony. And they released their camera and sensor business units reports for 2015. And the report basically states we're not doing that good, at least when you look at it for face value. You can see production and sales of cameras and sensors are on a decline, a major decline. But what's odd is you see that their revenue, the bottom line of money made is on an upswing. They're actually making more money. So why is that, right, guys? Well, it looks like it has to do with the type of cameras that they're selling. So years ago, they were selling a lot of point-and-shoot cameras that are cheap, right? They're low cost, not a lot of money, and they're just producing a ton of them, right? So now production's down because they're not producing as much, but money's up. Why? Because they're selling high-end or higher-end cameras. For example, the Sony RX line doing really, really well, as well as the Alpha line that we were talking about yesterday, like the A7S2 and the A7R2. They're expensive cameras. You're looking at $3,000 plus, right? So it looks like they're doing not so good on paper when it comes to sensor and camera sales. But then when you look underneath it, the underlying tone, it's definitely they're on an upswing. And once again, it's for the higher priced cameras. So it looks like people are, at this point, I wouldn't say not buying the point and shoots as much, but let's just say buying them less. It's almost like a flight to quality instead of quantity, right? Not so many people are doing that every year, buying a new camera that's, okay, $100 camera, $150 camera. They're going for the more expensive cameras, and they're probably holding on to them for a little bit longer. Hence why we're seeing less camera sales, less sensor production, right? So it's kind of interesting. What is interesting for a photographer, or as a photographer looking at it, what this means is there's going to be more people that are out there like Uncle Buck that are going to be competing with us because they're going to have the exact same cameras that we do, right, guys? We're going to see these just lay folk with, Canon 5D Mark IIIs, Canon 5D Mark IVs, the new Nikon, let's say a D5 or something. It's going to happen because people are starting to realize that they really enjoy photos, but they don't want to use these little point and shoots that don't do a really great job. People have the assumption that they're going to do good until they use them, and it's tracking. They can't pick up focus in dark type of situations. They can't get focus at all, or it looks horrible. It's very grainy and noisy. So I think there is going to be this migration or this flight to, like I said, quality from quantity. So anyways, moving on, some deals for you guys. Canon 6D. Now, I saw this, it was on eBay. And usually I'm not shopping on eBay, but I was looking for some used equipment. I see this Canon, brand new, for $999. That's just under $1,000 for a Canon 6D. That is an awesome price. Usually they're like $1,400 for the body. For $999, I'm like, well, what's the shtick here? What is the story? And I looked at it, it was from people that are selling them. I think it was two different people, and they had like 99.8% ratings and whatnot. So obviously they are authentic with a ton of people rating them. But what I'm thinking is, and they don't say it, I'm going to guess it's probably an international body and not a USA quote unquote manufactured body. What that's going to do is you're not going to have that quote unquote USA manufacturer warranty. It's going to be an overseas warranty. So if that's an issue for you guys, then probably don't look at it. Spend the extra $300-400 on a US made model. But honestly, I've bought a countless number of cameras. None of them ever been DOA. And most of them, I would say 90% of them all worked for years and years and years and years till finally a shutter went bad or something like that. So it's not really that bad of a deal for figure 30%, possibly even 40% less than buying from, buying within the USA. So something to look at. Moving on. We buy lenses on a regular basis, right? And lenses are expensive, right, guys? Lenses are expensive. We're always looking for a cheap lens. So maybe it's like, something cheaper than let's say the norm, like buying a Canon lens or a Nikon lens. We're always looking for, maybe how is Sigma? How are they doing? How's Tamron doing? How's this? So there's a camera lens company called Rokinon, and they are another third party, let's say lens manufacturer. They create lenses for Canon, for Nikon, for Sony. Right? Different mount lenses. They came up with a 1.5 Cin lens, and it's a 50 millimeter. But what's interesting is it's for a micro four thirds. So all of you guys out there that are micro four thirds shooters that want something that is a Cin lens that is literally $600-700, right now you can get it for $379. And I think that's over at Adorama's who has it. So take a look. Once again, the spelling, the name of the lens is ROKINON. Once again, it's a 50 millimeter 1.5 Cin lens. So take a look at it. $379. Not bad. It's good until February 7th, I believe, and you're saving a couple $100, which is really great. So you have about a week to do it if it's something that you're looking for. More lenses. Sigma, like I said. Great lenses. I've used Sigma in the past. Right now, I'm using a lot of Tamron because I like their lenses slightly better, but I've used Sigma in the past and they have really good lenses. Right now, they have a rebate for about $300, give or take, all the way through February. And that rebate is for about 3 or 4 different lenses. One lens I would say probably not look into is the Sigma 70-300. It's a cheap lens. It's probably right around $149 compared to like $169, $179, which isn't too bad, but it is the meandering freaking f-stop. I hate that. I want a 2.8 or less, period. That's it. Right across the spectrum. If it's a zoom, I want 2.8 at 70. I want 2.8 at 300, let's say, like with this lens, but it's not. It's a 4.0. And then it migrates up to 5.6. That just makes me nuts. So anyway, so I wouldn't recommend this lens, but a couple other lenses that they do have in 2.8 is a 17-50, a 105, and also a 70-200. Now, what's really interesting, guys, is on the 70-200, I absolutely love my 70-200. Of course, I have the Canon 70-200 IS, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful lens. I use it for portraits all day long. It's just unbelievable. It's tack sharp. It's just, you can feel the girth and the weight and the amount of glass in there. Well, they're expensive. That lens is like around $2,500, $2,400. Well, Sigma came up with their 70-200, once again, 2.8 counterpart to that. And it's only $1,199. That's $1,200, guys, compared to like $2,400. You can buy 2 of these Sigmas for the price of one Canon or Nikon equivalent. So it's something to take a look at. If you haven't seen Sigma lenses in the past or seen images, look up online. Go into Google, take a look at some this versus that's, and you'll see that those lenses are really tack sharp. I think the build quality might be slightly less than a Canon, but for half price. You can, like I said, you can buy two. If one goes bad, you throw it away and you end up with another one. So anyways, moving on. I would say about 2 weeks ago, I talked about a Canon EOS 1DX Mark II being right around the corner. And just, I think it was yesterday, we did get a leak of, it looks like a magazine page, let's say just ripped out of a magazine page, or possibly even some artwork to be handed out at, let's say, one of the trade shows. We don't know which one. Maybe it's CP Plus, let's say. But anyways, it does show the mark of the legend with the big X, and it is the EOS 1DX, and it has some copy under it. And it does show pre-order now. And what's interesting is the cost is $5,999. Now, what's interesting about that is the price. Figure $6,000, where its predecessor came out originally when it first hit the market at $6,800. You're looking at an $800 difference between the newer model and the old model at release time, at release day, which is interesting. And I think it definitely, it leads me to believe that, slowly the DSLRs are going away. And they're going to be able to get less and less money, even for the high-end DSLRs. Like I said, this camera, this 1D camera, which I have somewhere back there on the shelf, I bought originally was $8,000. And it didn't shoot like this camera does at, some crazy, 30, 40 megapixels. My camera was shooting at 4.3 megapixels, brand new for that 1D, which is like absolutely nothing. But you can see how the difference is from me purchasing mine, let's say 10 years ago, 11 years ago, all right, for $8,000. We're down now to $6,000 even. You're looking at a $2,000 difference from, the original 1D when it launched to now. And we can see the difference just from last year's or a few years ago model, the Mark I to the Mark II. We're slowly at this decline in the quote unquote perceived value and what is expected. How much can you pay? How much are people willing to pay for your high-end DSLR equipment? And obviously that number is slowly going down. Now, this camera is freaking pretty bad. I mean, it shoots up to 14 frames per second, which is nuts. It can shoot 16 frames per second in live view mode, which is crazy. It'll burst up to 170 frames of RAW if you use a CFast card in it, which is nuts. It does 4K video. It's shooting that 4K at 60 frames per second, which is beautiful, right? And they're saying that autofocus is really smooth, even in video mode. So that's all wonderful. What I don't understand, Canon, I just don't get, is why is there still 61 points of autofocus? What the frick is that? When are they going to just figure this out? I mean, Nikon's, all these, even like Sony, they got 100, 300 points of autofocus, right? 100 points of autofocus, more. Nikon, double of what Canon has. I don't understand. I know there's got to be a rhyme or reason to it, and maybe one day I'm going to get to talk to one of these Canon representatives, and they're going to explain to me why there's so little points of autofocus in their systems. Because I don't understand. You would think this brand new model that's come, it's not even out yet. You can't even pre-order it just yet when I'm recording the show. And we're still sitting there, at 61 points of autofocus. I don't know, Canon. Anyways, low light, I'm sure, is going to be a monster. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely wonderful at low light. So we'll see what ends up happening. Once again, that is the Canon EOS 1DX Mark II. And, we'll see. I'm sure it's just right around the corner when you guys can pre-order it if you have $6,000 burning a hole in your pocket. So anyways, before I go any further, I got a bunch more things to talk about with you guys, but let's go ahead and take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors. The 3-in-1 Photo Reference Tool is a versatile, all-in-one color reference accessory designed to help you dial in white balance, exposure, and color temperature. With its 37 anti-reflective color reference tiles, both photographer and videographer can take complete control over their color workflow. The front side features 19 color tiles. The large 18% gray card with center target makes autofocus lockup easy while providing fast in-camera custom white balance and single-click color correction in post-production. The 6-step exposure gradient provides perfect tonal reproduction, balancing highlights with deep, rich blacks in every image. Its 12 tiles of primary, processed, and standard skin tone colors are perfect for digital reference. On the backside of the 3-in-1 photo reference tool, you will find 18 custom tiles. 6-step exposure gradient including an 18% gray tile, perfect for dialing in exposure and neutralizing color temperature in post-production. And finally, perfect for the portrait photographer, a unique 12-step gradient unlike any other color reference tool, allowing warming, cooling, and neutralizing color with a single click. From in-camera to post-production, the 3-in-1 photo reference tool helps push your creativity to the next level, providing complete color control over all your imaging creation. Grab one today from your local camera dealer or visit our website at jchristina.com. So, all right, guys, we are back. So, Sony, once again, in the news, somehow someone uncovered a sensor patent this week. And what's really interesting is this patent that was uncovered is for a black and white sensor. And people think about that, like, what would that be for? Why would you want a black and white sensor? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I know that I am just a lover of black and white photography. My fine art work is still black and white. I do large 60 by 40 prints, liquid prints, chemical prints of black and white stuff. And sometimes I'll shoot film, I'll shoot full frame, sometimes medium format. I just really enjoy black and white photography. Black and white to me is the bones, the backbone, the skeletal structure of every picture. If you can get it right in a black and white, you just add color and you just put like some candy on top. But the bones, the skeletal structure of a photograph is simply black and white. Highlight, low light, right? All the contrast, everything in between, and how it tells a story in the frame. That's my personal opinion. That's one of the reasons why I love monochrome. I like black and white. So seeing that they're creating this quote unquote patent, they have the patent for this black and white sensor, leads me to believe is maybe they're going down the road of Leica. Leica has been a very exclusive camera company that only the rich buy their cameras. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars for some of these equipment, some of these cameras. Well, they created a few years back a monochrome version of their point and shoot, their rangefinder. And that Leica monochrome really did well. A lot of fine art photographers, a lot of photographers in general, especially older photographers that just love film, bought this camera. Why? Because it only does black and white. The sensor doesn't have to get all cluttered up with 3 colors and try to decipher what exactly is. It's just simply black and white. And its dynamic range is just unbelievable. If you look at the images that come out of that Leica monochrome, and you look at a color camera similar to it, and then have that image converted to black and white, and you look at the original out of that monochrome, it's in a different league completely different league. It really it tells a story better due to the amount of that dynamic range in the image. And I'm thinking that, could you imagine if Sony took, like, for example, their Alpha A7, let's say their R2, 43 megapixels, let's just say, right? And now throw in a black and white sensor on that and make it a monochrome, right? Let's just say they did that. Well, they would be able to put that out maybe at that $3,000. Maybe they can put it out cheaper, maybe $2,500 for that rangefinder, for that camera. But look, guys, the Leica equivalent to that right now runs $7,500. That's right. Black and white rangefinder from Leica, the monochrome, $7,500. So if Sony did go down this path, now this is just speculation on my part, but if they did, they would have something that would be different than what anyone else is doing. I can imagine a mirrorless Sony black and white only camera, because there's going to be a lot of us that will say, you know what, I'm going to grab that camera. Can you imagine using it, let's say, for a wedding? You'll be able to shoot in near darkness on that full frame, especially since it's black and white. that's kind of exciting for me. Don't know if it's really going to happen, but if Sony's listening, make it happen. Make it happen, guys. It would just be glorious. It would be fun. I would definitely look into purchasing one of those and keep that with me all the time. That'd be awesome. I might even start doing some fine art photography with that camera. So anyways, guys, moving on. I told you, or I hinted at the beginning of the show, a company was trying to take us out of business. Us, photographers, as well as the MUAs, the makeup artists. And you think, how in the heck is that going to happen, Joe? Well, there's a company out there called Looklit. And what they are doing is they are basically trying to take fashion catalog work out of the hands of photographers, out of the hands of makeup artists, and allow it to be done in-house for any company. Their quote says, quote, "Our solution rethinks traditional image production and replaces it with scalable, industrialized workflow without compromising quality." So I don't know about you guys. It sounds like crap, right? It sounds like crap, but it's not. I was reading through it and I see what they're doing, and it really could actually work, possibly. So let's look at it a little bit. So in their list of items on what this thing can do, it says it cuts cost, right, and saves time. It says it increases conversion rates and reduces returns, right, which sounds wonderful, especially if you're a store. Shoot products one by one instead of having to shoot all of them. Combine any product or model in any background, right? And then you can export it. You can export the images directly into your system and start selling immediately. Now, all that sounds wonderful, right? Well, what they're doing, guys, is their way of taking the photographer and the MUA out of the mix. What they're doing is they created a piece of software and they created a quote unquote mobile studio. They sell you, or they send you, a studio. And what happens is that studio includes a green mannequin, whichever mannequin you're looking for, whichever mannequin is specific to your needs, as well as lighting and a camera setup, as well as the software for your computer. Now, what you do is you pick out the model. Let's say I like this model. I want a zero size model, a full figure model, and I want a petite model. I want these three models. And I pick out what she looks like. And I pick out her hairstyle. All right. Then what I do is I say, all right, now I want to shoot with these three models. They say, okay, no problem. They send you over those mannequins for those three body types, from petite to the zero to the full. And that's all that you need at your location is a dresser. That's it. Someone that dresses this mannequin with your accessories, with your clothes, and with anything else that you want on the mannequin or on the model, quote unquote, on the model after the fact. So let's say, for example, JCPenney says, all right, I have a swimsuit line. All right. We have these three different types of models, and these are the swimsuits. We put them on the mannequins, all, let's say 50 of them. End of story, done. Let's say it's winter, the same exact thing. But now, instead of just having a top and a bottom or a single piece, now you might have accessories. You might have a hat. You might have some Uggs or something, or some, snowshoes, or you have your pants and your dresses and all of your tops and your winter wear and scarves and all of this stuff. That's all you have to do is put it on the mannequin. It takes the shots at the different angles, and it's done deal. It does the work locally. It sends it up in the cloud. In the cloud, it goes and does probably all of its cuts. And the time you're done, once that's all finished, what do you got? You end up with frickin' designer Barbie. And you just sit there and they just go and clip and cut and paste the top onto this model and this hat onto that model. I'll tell you one thing, Neiman Marcus and JCPenney's are already using these people, guys. That's kind of scary. Like I said, Barbie fashion designer is right around the corner. All of the photographers that would have these jobs that shoot the catalogs are no longer going to have those jobs. They have one person doing their dressing and another person doing quality control, and that's it. End of story. The people in the cloud are doing everything else, and you get all of the final images, and that's the end of it. It's really kind of crappy, people. It really is. But it's the nature of the beast, right? It's how the industry is moving. What is happening is things that are rudimentary, the real basic stuff, is going away. I think headshots will eventually go away too for systems that are similar to like this. But more of the high-end stuff, let's say if you're a Neiman Marcus, you still need magazine shots of these models, right? So you're still going to need a quote-unquote fashion photographer to do high-end magazine work, but you're not going to need a photographer anymore in-house, right? Let's say doing all of your fashion or all of your new products as they come in. Because normally these lines would have to, every time they get a new line together, they would have to bring in the photographer. They have to bring in all the models. They have to bring in the MUAs for doing hair and makeup. They have to do this whole entire production to shoot this specific line. And then when a new line comes out, they got to do it all over again. Now they don't have to do it. They leave the studio set up, and every time a new line comes up there, they just have their dresser go and dress the mannequin and put on the outfits, put on the hats, put on the scarves, put on the jewelry even, put on the handbags, and end game. There you go. Within, a day or two, they have a whole new line online for people to see in their fashion catalog for people to purchase. In the future, this is what we're going to have to see, and this is what we're going to have to compete with. So we have to continually up our game and look for things that cannot be automated, things that you just can't go into a box and just shoot. Something that someone with half a sense have to actually look at the image, take that photo, or know that photo is going to happen before it happens and capture it. That a human still needs to be around to do. So photography is not dead, but the way we do it, number one, and certain portions of the industry, I think, are slowly withering at the vine. So anyways, guys, just to kind of recap, last week I told you about a brand new YouTube channel that I came up with. And I want to thank all you guys for going and taking a look and subscribing. That really helped out a lot. Is now instead of having to have you guys go to search for me on YouTube, you can actually now go directly to me. So the link now to get to my new channel is youtube.com/JChristinaPhoto. That's Christina with no H. Once again, it's youtube.com/JChristinaPhoto. So if you haven't visited yet, go take a look. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Subscribe over there. I'm going to be, providing you with a lot more photography goodness on a more frequent basis on all different types of topics. So I'm going to be doing some reviews, but more of a review, not necessarily on the specs, but kind of why you should care. That's the kind of review that I'm going to kind of do. Those are more of what I'm looking at doing, as well as how-to, some behind-the-scenes things, and things of that nature. Sorry, guys, what do you guys think? I want to hear, what do you think about the new Barbie fashion designer way of photography? What do you think about that? What do you think about a possible Sony black and white camera? Put comments down below. It'll be fodder for me to use for next week's show, number one. And then some of these comments, I might maybe discuss it on the show and maybe put some meat on the bones, so to speak, and kind of talk about it a little bit more. So, all right, guys, you can follow me on Twitter, and that's @JosephChristina. That's Christina without an H. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DPhotoCafe. That's it. I'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe Show with Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/DPhotoCafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your host.